Hi, everyone. Well, here we are again. It is Wednesday, February 21st at 1 p.m. And this is my Wednesday Facebook Live event. I come to this space every Wednesday at 1 o'clock to simply share some information around leadership and career coaching. And today's topic is one that I think truly deserves a lot of attention. And that is why amazing leaders are great listeners. Hey, Teresa, how are you? Thanks for joining again. So this whole skill of listening is something that we get really kind of like pounded into us as kids, right? You know, you need to listen, or you're not listening enough, or why don't you listen? And the reason why our parents and our family and our loved ones encourage us to be really good listeners is simply for us to absorb information. And a lot of times for us when we're younger, it's information designed to protect us. That also holds pretty true for us in the workplace. So as we get started today, what I want to invite you to do is to simply drop me a comment in the comment section if you'd like to share about what a great listener looks like to you. And so to help you with that, I want to pose these two questions. So the first question is, when was there a time that you truly felt like someone was listening to you? And what did that look like and feel like for you? Now, I know I stacked a lot of questions there, right? But essentially, when someone was listening to you, how did you feel? How did it make you feel when someone truly gave their undivided attention to you? And then also, you know, when was there a time when you intentionally gave your 100% full attention to someone? And how did that look and feel like for you? I think the key thing when it comes to listening, it's about us being heard, right? We have something to say, we have something to share, we have information to give, and we want to make sure that it's being received. We want to make sure that people kind of get it and they hear us in that moment. It's a great opportunity to simply be acknowledged and validated when someone actually listens. You ever have that moment when you're talking to someone and you just said that like 5 minutes ago about what you were going to do this weekend or where your vacation plans were, and it was like they were never paying attention to you? Okay? So we're going to talk today about listening and what that all looks like. And so there was an article that I came across. It was called Leadership and the Power of Listening by Mike Myatt. And he comes across with 6 key tips. They spoke to me, so it's kind of why today I want to share with you about those, but certainly to give Mike the credit for coming up with these. And so the first one is that when it comes to listening, it's not about you. All right? It's not about your agenda, your motives, what you want to say, because it has to be all about the other person. Exactly. It's got to be all about the other person. So if you and I were sitting physically in the same space and you came to me to share something, it is out of respect for you. It is out of professional courtesy that I give you my complete and undivided attention. That I am not focused on my emails. I'm not focused on, my tablet. I'm not focused on my mobile device. I'm not focused on what I'm going to make for dinner tonight, because it is all about you. If I'm going to hold the space, and I think this is where the author Mike kind of talked about this a little bit, right? But if I'm going to hold the space, I have to make sure that I hold it in a way that I completely and unconditionally give you my full attention. One of the things that we learn in professional coaching, and it's a big tenet of the coach program that I went through, which is IPEC, the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, is to intuitively and diagnostically listen. And in order to do that, I can't think about what I'm going to say to you while you're talking to me. I can't think about the question I'm going to ask you if I'm focused on what I'm going to say when you're speaking to me. So we got to make it all about the other person, right? We got to take the focus off of us and give it to everybody else. Okay. Number 2, you should never be too busy to listen. I remember coming across a colleague whom I simply was just like, hey, just want to say hi, check in, how things are going. And he said to me, I don't have time for you right now. Okay, get that. Never really followed back up with me either. You see, I think when we hold space for people on our team, that we should always make that a priority, because they're coming to us in a leadership role and they have something to share, something to ask, something to offer. And it's our responsibility to hold that space for them and to listen. And if it's not the right time, then I just need to follow up with them later on and say, hey, I know we really didn't have much chance to talk. When's a good time for us to meet? But making yourself available to the people on your team, to the people in your organization that need just a few minutes of your time to talk to, is really important about holding that space and showing them that you're available, that you're respectful, and you're willing to listen. I'm not saying anything here about taking action. All I'm saying here is that you're offering an opportunity to listen and hear what they say. That's it. Number 3, listen to nonverbal communication. So this to me comes up a lot whenever I'm doing any kind of interview coaching or interviewing prep for my clients, where we talk a lot about nonverbal and how you show up professionally and energetically. So there's things that you say, there's the content and the technical expertise you're going to give, but there's also about engagement. If you and I were physically sitting in the same space, there's something about me leaning in, and I'm going to show you my really big forehead right now. Okay, so I'm going to lean in, or I'm going to nod, or I'm going to make sure that I make eye contact with you. But if I'm sitting in a chair and I'm like this, or I'm like reading something else, or, I don't know, I get distracted by something else in the room. Like baseball season's upon us and pitchers and catchers are reporting. So sorry, Teresa. I know you're a Phillies fan. I'm going to get you with this. Sorry. But it's about that nonverbal, right? So it's how we present ourselves energetically and how we show up that is so important. We say so much by our nonverbal that it's just as much as important as what it is that we say. All right, we got a couple more people in here. Hey, Robert. We got 2 Roberts. All right, so Rob and Robert, good to see you guys. Thanks for joining. All right. 4th thing, when it comes to why amazing leaders are great listeners, is that they listen for the opportunity. They listen very intentionally to what the other person is saying, and they're looking for that opportunity. In looking for that opportunity, they are deciding whether or not they want to take action. That's it. Just because someone comes and talks to you doesn't mean you have to do what they say or act on what they're saying. The key thing is that the person on the receiving end is listening for the opportunity. What might come of it? In my free offer on my website, which is called the Top 5 Qualities of Amazing Leaders, I talk about this pretty in-depthly, which is my number 4, which is what I call listen, lean in, and step forward. It's the whole art of actually being able to hold space, take in information, get really, really curious about what the person is saying or offering. And then in that leadership role, it's about you making a decision whether or not you want to step forward and take action or not. But you can't get to action without listening. And so listening for that opportunity is what's going to allow you to decide whether or not you actually want to go ahead and take action. Number 5 in his list was let listening be your calling card, right? So amazing leaders who are phenomenal listeners, they're known for that. They're known for setting time. They're known for listening intently and to acknowledge the person on their team or that other person in their organization because they have something to say, to share, and to offer. And so people who are good listeners are often more respected in the workplace. They're more approachable. Like, let me give you an example. So you know how companies sometimes will say, well, we have an open door policy, okay? Meaning you can come and talk to me anytime. Well, physically, that door needs to be open because that means that that person's approachable. And when that person's approachable and we find out that they're a really, really good listener, then they gain so much more respect and credibility and buy-in from people on their team that when they do go to take action, it is just kind of all encompassed in that they bring this whole package in their leadership skills together because they've processed that information to step forward. And lastly, it's about recognizing the contribution of others. By that, and I completely agree with this point, is that when we're listening, we have an opportunity to simply say 2 words. Thank you. That's all that is needed in that conversation. If you want to go beyond that, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the idea. When can I follow up with you on this? Let me take a moment to think about it. Whatever that is, the acknowledgement of simply saying thank you is huge. When someone comes and they ask for some of your time, aside from listening 100% to them, they deserve a thank you. They deserve an acknowledgement and a validation that their time was worth it and you appreciated the time they spent with you. You may not act on anything they had to say, but at least acknowledging with a thank you. So I talk a lot about, how we hold that space for people on our team. And again, it's about respect. It's about making sure that we are showing up in a way with our own nonverbal behavior, but also by our physical actions that we're giving people that time. In my last job, I was really fortunate that I had an office by myself. I didn't share an office with anybody. And I had a table in my office. And the majority of the time, like 90% of the time, when someone would come into my office and it was just the 2 of us, we had a conversation around that table. We had a conversation away from my computer, away from my phone, away from any distraction that would be present. And if the phone rang and I knew that I might need to get it, I would always clarify ahead of time and simply say, hey, I might need to get this. I might need to interrupt, but I want to let you know. I want to ask you if that's okay. So it's about really holding that space for people in that conversation. So couple last examples here, right? So someone comes to you on your team and they're talking with you about morale and morale within the organization. The person comes to you and they go, everybody hates it here. Okay, can we clarify everybody? Because you're one person in my office. So I want to thank you for coming to have that conversation with me, but let's really hone in on everybody. Because people have a tendency to generalize. I remember in a previous organization, someone had come to me and they said, everybody's really unhappy with their promotion or their lack of promotion and their compensation. Really, everybody needs to come talk to me. Kind of willing to bet the people that got promoted that year and got a really good raise were kind of happy. So we need to clarify that. But here's the key thing. When people come to us with that kind of energy, when people come to us with a generalization, it is our job as the listener to dig deep. Because there's a couple things going on there. One, it's their energy that's going on. They're either individually unhappy and they're trying to soften the blow by pulling everybody else into it, or there really is a larger issue. But it is our job as the listener to ask questions to clarify that. And we do that by asking open-ended questions. We don't ask things where it would give us a yes or no answer. We want to ask questions that give us more to the story. How do you know this? How many people are we talking about? What is the overall sentiment on the team? What are you proposing we do as an action step? That's how we show up, and we let them know that we're listening. No one in leadership understands what's going on. Okay. No one? There isn't one person on the team you feel like you can go talk to in leadership. In some organizations, that's true. In most of them, probably not. There's probably someone there that is able to listen and act. Their actions may not get taken into consideration by those above them. But if we're saying that no one in leadership understands them, then we need to clarify that broad generalization and really, really dig deep into what the underlying message is. And that happens with trust, and that happens with time, and that happens with respect. I'll never forget, I had a colleague, a direct report, and came time at performance review time, and told this person their raise, and they looked at me and said, "I'm really unhappy." And I looked at this person and I said, "I know." Held a space. And we had a conversation. And I listened. And I was able to understand where this person was coming from. In the end, there really wasn't much I could do about it because I didn't have a direct say in their compensation package, but I was able to listen. And I think that's the real power in this. Sometimes people just need to be heard. I started off today by talking about how when we were kids, we were often told, you never listen, or why don't you listen? And it was done out of protection. But think about the kid. And if you have small children or you have children, remember when they were younger, they come up and they tug on your shirt and they'd be like, "Daddy, Mommy, I want to tell you something." They're just looking to be heard. And as adults, we still just want to be heard. And it's really important that we find that person or people with whom we can really go to and share our thoughts, ideas, and our message with in a way that we know on the end we're going to be respected, we're going to be heard, and we're going to be acknowledged. Nowhere in there did I say about something's going to be taken action about. That is a way complex conversation that the leader has to decide what, if any, action is possible because of it. But the act of listening is for us to gather information, to be heard, and to be acknowledged. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to make life more difficult, but we do kind of want to make work a little bit of a better place. And for us that are trying to step up and lead, or maybe lead for the first time, I think these are really valuable skills that can help you create that next advancement opportunity and figure out how you want to show up energetically and professionally, which of course is, by now, if you've been following me, is a really, really big tenet about my work. And I feel really passionate about that. So, I did want to share this one thing with you really, really quick. So if you got my email today, you may have clicked on the YouTube link about an old commercial from the 70s and 80s from E.F. Hutton. And it was all about, when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. They kind of lean in like this, right? So I was thinking about this earlier, and I was a kid that grew up in front of the television set. So old commercials and stuff like that, like I will spend time going through YouTube every now and then and go through all that. But it did bring up the Verizon commercial, right? Can you hear me now? And how being able to be heard is important in this digital age for connectivity, to make sure that our signal strength and our reception is reliable so we can hear the person on the other end. And so we still have some really great examples of about listening and being heard that we hear in our culture. Yeah, Rob, you like that commercial, right? Yeah, so we still see these kind of things, and it just speaks volumes about how we are being heard each and every day. And the last call to action I have for you is this. Tonight, when you are sitting at home with your husband or wife or significant other, close friend, family member, whomever that is, I want you to practice listening intentionally and diagnostically. Put all the media and the tech away, shut the TV off, look into their eyes, and for just a few minutes, really acknowledge that you are listening to them with your 100% attention. And drop me a note. Let me know how it goes. All right, everybody, I want to thank you for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it. Hope you have a great week, and we will talk again next week. All right, take care. Thanks again, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.